It's been said the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist. Well, I say the greatest trick in the world has been pulled was America tricking the world into believing that racism doesn't exist. But as we see what happened to George Floyd, as we hear his cries, his screams for help, his screams for his mother, his screams for his daughters, his screams to let him up, the screams that he cannot breathe. As we watched him die on camera, while people stood and looked on. As a fellow police officer whose job is to serve and protect, watched as his fellow officer sat with his knee for over 8 minutes in George Floyd's neck, cutting off his breathing, cutting off his windpipes, cutting off any possibility of air. When we watched him being put on a stretcher, unresponsive, knowing, even though we're not there to check his pulse, to see if he is breathing, knowing he was already dead. To see a man murdered, unarmed, in the middle of the street, on camera, with onlookers, and the person who murdered him does it with a smirk on his face. A smirk on his face, hands in his pocket, as if he was proud of the accomplishment that he just made. Kept his knee on his neck, as if it was a prize lion. As if it was a prize lion in a safari that he just hunted down. He was just posing for the camera. George Floyd was not no lion. George Floyd was not no animal. He was someone's son. He was somebody's father. He was somebody's brother. He was a human being who didn't deserve the death that he received. If he committed a crime, as they say, which was passing off a counterfeit $20 bill, based on the Constitution, he should have had due process. He should have seen his day in court. An opportunity to prove his innocence. Because isn't it you're innocent until you prove guilty? Not in this country. Not for black people, is it? See, as black people, as America, we thought we were past racism. We thought the past wounds were healed. All debts were cleared and settled when Barack Obama was elected. See, when Barack Obama was elected, he came with hope, change. We thought Martin Luther King's dream had finally came true, didn't we? We thought that all the marching, all the protesting had finally paid off. We thought all the atrocities that our ancestors, all the pain and suffering had finally paid off. That this was our hope. This was our march into freedom. We were no longer going to be seen as 3/4 or 3/4 or a quarter of a human being or 3/4 of a human being, however it goes, 1/3 of a human being. I don't remember the exact number, but whatever it was, we were finally going to be seen as equal. As we seen what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, being murdered, being hunted in the streets for jogging. When we look at what happened to Trayvon Martin, being murdered for having an Arizona tea, just a bag of Skittles. When we see what happened to Sandra Bland, who's murdered for just a simple traffic stop. When we see what happened to Mike Brown. When we see what happened to so many others who are murdered for being in their own home, their own apartment, in their own bed, jogging down the street. When we see all these things happening, and there's no repercussions, there's no justice, we have to ask ourselves, what type of life are we truly living? How safe are we? Of course, we all hear different ways where we can protect ourselves from the police. We should not be hostile. We should remain calm. We shouldn't resist. We shouldn't provoke the police officers. We have all these pieces of advice, books written on how we can avoid being murdered by police. But as we watched George Floyd be murdered, he didn't resist. He didn't fight. At least what we could have seen from the multiple camera views. Yeah, he tripped off a curb, landing on the ground. He didn't curse at the cops, even when a knee was buried into his neck. He still pleaded, "Please let me up. Please stand me up. I can't breathe." Despite the agonizing pain that man had to be feeling, he didn't resist or fight back. He didn't show hostility. In fact, he showed more training than the people who were paid to protect and to serve us. He showed more restraint than the people who are trained to show restraint. This is the world we live in. And as we look at these people, and how they feel about this situation, we can't get his scream out of our heads. We can't get him crying out for his mother who's no longer here, crying for his child, crying out for air, saying he can't breathe. I can't stop hearing it. I can't stop seeing his face. I can't stop seeing his police officer's face who's smirking while his hands are in his pocket and his knees buried in his neck. Can't stop seeing it. I close my eyes and I see George Floyd's face. I see that police officer's face. I see what he's doing to him. And though I watched it on camera and I'm not in Minnesota, like many of you out there watching right now, I wanted to reach in and just push the officer off him, risking my own freedom, just to give George Floyd another day of life, just to give him a moment to breathe some air. But as onlookers watched in horror, George Floyd died. And we were reminded that racism still exists. It's still alive. As our president tweeted, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. We have to see, the devil's work is still being done by the people like the officer who killed George Floyd, by the people who killed Ahmaud Arbery, by the president who is still calling us or the protesters thugs, what we know is a political term for nigger. We know that racism, hatred, bigotry, this ugly disease called racism still exists. We out here fighting COVID-19 and still trying to fight for our lives, fighting against stay-at-home orders, fighting a disease that doesn't have a cure, but forgetting that there's an even bigger disease out here with no cure, and it's called racism. But like we do with many things, and like many people do with other things, we ignore it. We act like it doesn't exist. We're going to cover it up. We're going to rip the pages out of the history book that proves that not only does racism does exist, but it's alive and well in this country. It has kept us as black people in bondage, under defeat, suffering for millions of years. I'm sorry, not millions, hundreds of years. Let me speak more clear, hundreds of years. And you look at the protesters who are out here in all these cities protesting, and you look at them and you wonder, why are they so frustrated? Why are they upset? Why are they acting the way they do? Well, God darn it, people are tired. We're tired. We try to talk to you. We try to tell you how we feel. As I did the Ahmaud Arbery episode, a lot of people reached out and said, yo, I don't know what's going on. I'm just telling you, I'm tired of seeing him. So I'm tired of seeing him. So my response to people was, you get tired, when you're truly tired, you stop talking about it, and you go to action. Now, I'm not sitting here promoting violence against police. I'm not promoting riots. I'm not promoting looting. But I have to say, I understand what these people are feeling. I understand the frustration they're feeling, the fear that they're feeling. When you look at how you're going to protect your child, and I even talked about how you protect your child, but the reality is that doesn't work, because we used to think, okay, maybe lock our kids in the house, lock our families in the house, just don't leave the house. Maybe that'll protect them. But no, they're coming into your house killing us. If you're going for jobs, we're getting killed. You accidentally run a stop sign, you may be murdered. You go into the store to get some milk, you may be murdered. Your car breaks down, you call for help, you may be murdered. And I know what y'all gonna say. Well, police officers have to deal with this every single day on their job. When they go to a stop, when they go to a traffic stop, when they report to a call, they have to deal with the possibility of being killed every day. It's hazardous of the job. What about them? Let's talk about it, people. You know what the difference is between a police officer and a black person who's living with that same fear? The difference is a police officer can go home, he can take his uniform off, he can put some regular clothes on, walk out in the streets, and live his life, or her life, without the fear of being murdered. Live his or her life just like an ordinary person. They can take their uniform off at any point. You know what the difference is between black people and the police officers? A black person can't take their skin off. They can't take the ugly stigma, the stereotypes that are carried around our skin, not because of something we did, but because something, ignorance, disease, is creating someone else's mind. We can't take off our skin. We can't take off the fact that we're black. We can't change who we are. Our skin color is not a uniform that we can take on and off. When we decide to walk the streets, go out for a jog, maybe get some Skittles. Take our kids to a park. We can't take the skin off. We gotta live in it every single day. And we gotta live with the fear that any day we walk out of our house, any day we wake up in the morning, it may be our last. That any small infraction that we may commit, there will be no due process. That often is said when a cop commits a crime, we gotta give due process. We have to give time to examine the evidence. We don't get that due process. We don't get the opportunity to examine the evidence. We don't get this chance. You don't get this pass go, collect $200, you get straight killed. Does the cops play judge, jury, executioner? What do we tell our children? What do we say to them? What do we tell our children when we used to teach our children, hey, if you ever get lost or if you ever get in danger and we're not around, go talk to the cops and go find a police officer to get help. Now we're fearful to even tell our children, go find a police officer to get help because of the color of their skin, they look guilty of a crime. Or they may look like someone else who committed a crime and be wrongfully accused. Run up against the wrong cop who has an itchy trigger finger and looking to make their bones, knowing that there is no repercussions. There's no consequences for murdering an unarmed black person. It's the reality we live with, people. As a parent, as a father, it's the reality I live with. I can only imagine what my mother, your mother, our mothers, our wives, our sisters, our aunts, our fathers. I can only imagine what our loved ones feel as we walk out the street, as we go to a corner store, we go to a party, as we go to work, or we go just doing regular things every day. What kind of fear goes into their hearts? What kind of thoughts creep into their minds when they see in all this? Knowing that they can't protect their child because you never know what's waiting for them outside the home. You never know what bullet's waiting for their name on it. What police officer is waiting to hunt down us. You don't know. You hear talks, and I know I'm going to get bombarded in the comments section with this, so I'm going to address this right now. I know I'm going to hear this. Well, you guys protest and you fight and you riot for and you loot for every time a police officer kills a black person, but what about when y'all kill each other? Why you don't speak up then? Alan the Great, why are you not doing an episode about y'all killing each other? Because y'all do it every day. Y'all kill each other. Where's the outcry for that? Well, let me speak my piece on that. We're going to get that right out the way right now. I'm going to answer right here. So when you come up in the comment section with that nonsense, here's your answer right here, right now. First and foremost, black people do kill other black people. But guess what? White people kill other white people. Latinos kill other Latinos. Asians kill other Asians. But do we call it Asian on Asian crime? Latino on Latino crime? White on white crime? No, we just call it black on black crime. The reality is you're going to kill and you're more likely to kill who lives in the same community as you. Who is the closest to you is the most likely you're going to kill. If you look up the statistics and numbers, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% certain that more white people kill other white people than black people kill other black people. Now, that does not justify the actions of us killing each other. But here is another explanation, because let me explain why we do it. When you live in a poverty-stricken area, when you live in poverty, where there's no chance or no option for a better life, it is going to create an increase in violence. You want to go back in history? Let's go back in the ghettos of Germany or Poland or any other countries. And in those ghettos, what was happening? Where there's poverty, there was violence amongst the people who lived in there, in those communities. There's always going to be a violence when there's poverty. And a lot of times, most of us black people are living in poverty-stricken situations. We're living in situations where we're not given the same opportunity. We're not given the same chances. We don't have the same opportunity to get more. We live in a city, we live in places where projects, which you know is a project. We live around guns, drugs, violence. We breathe it. But more importantly, with the biggest issue of why we don't march, why we don't protest when one of us get killed is because we're desensitized by this. We're desensitized by murdering each other because we see it so much. We see it on TV. We see it on communities. We see it so much that we become desensitized to it. It doesn't register with us the same no more. It doesn't feel the same. It has become normal. And that's my fear for what's happening with the police killing us. We're going to become desensitized to it to the point where we don't respond to it anymore. And that's my greatest fear right there. The day we become desensitized to it and we stop marching, we stop protesting, we stop speaking about it. That's my fear. Because I got 2 sons, and my job is to protect my 2 sons and my wife. And how do I protect that if everybody's going to turn a blind eye to the heinous crimes that's being committed? A lot of times I hear y'all talk about, and people talk about, well, oh, don't vote because of all this stuff going on. See, I speak opposite. We need to vote. We need to vote, because when you got a president who's speaking like this, saying, when the looting start, the shooting start. If you don't vote, more likely he's going to remain in office. And who knows how much more damage is going to be done and how much more damage this country can handle with 4 more years of this current administration. See, the key is not voting, people. The key is we have to hold politicians' feet to the fire. The people who we vote for, people who make promises for the black community, but promises for change, promises to finally find a cure for this disease we call racism. It's finally time for us to hold their feet to the fire. Stop just giving them our votes for free. You don't give away your money for free. You don't give away your time for free. You don't give away your clothes and shoes for free. Why are you giving your vote away for free? Why are you giving away your voice for free? We need to hold them accountable for what they said they're going to do. Don't let them off the hook. Hold these politicians accountable. If they're supposed to stand, this party is supposed to stand for us, then hold them accountable for it. It's no longer a day where we can let them sit here and sell us on a dream and just ride up into the sunset, or sit in the White House, or sit in Congress, or in D.C. with their feet up collecting paychecks, but not doing things for us. No, it's time for us to continue to get out here and vote. Get out here and let our voice be heard. Get out here and stand up and speak. But making sure we hold their feet to the fire. Hold them to the standard and hold them to what they promised us. We're not going to let our foot off. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. We need to learn about ourselves. We need to learn about ourselves. We talk about us killing us. We talk about us killing us. And it's an issue that we need to correct, because we need to stop killing each other and learn to love each other. You have to understand, no civilization can be conquered until it destroys itself from within. Let me say that one more time, because I don't think y'all caught it. No civilization can be conquered until it destroys itself from within. Meaning, if we keep killing each other, we keep fighting each other, we keep not supporting each other, then ultimately what we're doing is destroying our own selves. Making it much more easier for us to be conquered. So when we look at what's going on with the George Floyd, when we sit here protesting, when we're getting frustrated, we have to also get frustrated at ourselves and finally recognize that we're part of the problem because we're killing each other and making ourselves weaker, making ourselves less organized, making ourselves thinner, so it's easier to kill us. It's easier to kill us and for them to get away with it because they know they're not going to be held accountable. Because yes, we're going to sit here and protest for a week or two. Then, if somebody, the president or somebody speak out like, yo, we're giving you a new stimulus check. Hey, we move on from George Floyd. Now we're back on worrying about when we're going to get a new stimulus check and what we're going to spend this new $1,200 on. We're back on that now. We're backing off George Floyd. And guess what? The person who killed George Floyd never sees his day in court. We lose another victory because we keep being distracted. They're reflecting off of what George Floyd into something else. We can't treat this like a part of the news cycle. This can't be a fad because this fad that's coming is actually destroying people's lives. It's killing our children. It's killing our fathers. It's killing our brothers, our sisters. This can't be a fad that we sit here and treat. We can't treat this like it's the ice word challenge. We can't treat this like it says drinking cinnamon challenge. This is not a challenge, people. This is real life. It's time for you to stop talking about you're frustrated, you're tired if you show it. Get out here and hold these politicians accountable for what they do. Call your legislators, call your Congress people, hold them to the fire. Call the president that we're going to elect into accountability for what they're promising us. Stand for what we need. We need our communities built back up. We need our communities built back up. We need things in our community. We need our education. We need to be taught the true definition, the truth about our history in this country. Stop trying to rip the pages out about Black Wall Street, but we ain't going to get into that though, are we? We don't want to get into Black Wall Street and how y'all don't teach that in school, right? Because that's a black eye in the history of America that we don't want to teach. Because if you talk about Black Wall Street, then you have to recognize that racism did and still does exist. When you want to talk about people looting and robbing, let's talk about Black Wall Street and what happened there. Where in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a whole community of wealthy black people who have black-owned banks, black-owned movie theaters, black-owned church, black-owned pharmacies, black-owned grocery stores, black-owned doctors' offices, black-owned homes were burned down to the ground, was looted. Churches, houses, firebombed. Innocent women and children were murdered. Men shot down the streets. Let's talk about what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's talk about how those firebombs rained from the sky and burned down a whole community. Destroyed a whole community of wealth. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how innocent women, children, were burned down and gunned down in their own homes. Let's talk about how a soldier who fought in the war, black man, stood in his front lawn with his service uniform on, thinking that if the looters, the white looters, seen him with his army uniform on, they would recognize that he stood and fought for a country that doesn't love and never fought for him. That they would leave him alone. This man was beaten and shot wearing his service uniform. Let's talk about the true history. So see, when President Trump wants to call the current protesters looters, thugs, what do you call the looters, the protesters from Black Wall Street who destroyed the whole community of wealth, killed people, destroyed people's lives forever, all because a black man was accused, but never convicted, never proven to have assaulted a white woman. But we'll talk about Black Wall Street in a whole nother episode because it deserves a whole episode to itself. We're going to get into that. The point I'm making is, when you call somebody a thug, when you're willing to sit here and talk about somebody's actions, you need to dive back into your history of this country and think about what your ancestors did, what kind of damage they've done, and what kind of damage it still plays an effect on many of our lives decades later. You may not understand what's going on. You may not feel it. But if you can't look at that video and what was happened to George Floyd, if you look at that video You don't feel that man's pain. If you don't feel the pain, the suffering, the hurt, the fear, the frustration, the tiredness of the entire black community, then I have to look at you and say, and ask, are you human? Do you have a heart? Any empathy? What's inside your soul that you don't see and hear that man's cry and feel something? Don't let George Floyd die for nothing. Don't let his name, don't let his death burn up in buildings and police stations. Don't let his death be covered with all this violence. Because I'm sure it's not what he wants. He wants to see the man who murdered him get something that George Floyd didn't do this day in court. He wants to see him get convicted and put in jail for the rest of his natural life. That's the blow we really need. We need to see that America is really ready to finally create and distribute a cure for this ugly, heinous disease that they call racism. Not pretend like it doesn't exist. It's time to cure it. Cure it and find a vaccine like we're trying to do for COVID-19. That's what we need to do. We need our leaders, our black leaders, stand up, help, teach our young black men, our black women, raise them up, teach them their history, teach them about who they are. We need you as a white community to come out and speak against these police officers and these other forms of racism. We need other officers, and I've seen it on Facebook, seen it on TV where officers are finally starting to speak up. They said they were speaking through their silence, but we couldn't hear you through your silence. We need your silence to be a little bit louder because we couldn't hear what you were saying through your silence. But we are grateful that you're speaking up now. We need more. We're calling for more officers to speak up and speak against the heinous crime that was committed against George Floyd. We need you to not forget about George Floyd, to remember his name. Do not let his name, his death go in vain. Do not let his death be just another headline that only lasts for a week. Do not let his death become a fad. It's time for us to show restraint, even though we're frustrated and stressed, and not to continue to destroy communities, to cause damage. It's time for us to speak up, to protest, to hold the presidential, the government candidates, hold them accountable for their actions, hold them accountable for their promises. It's time for us to speak up. It's time for us to take our place, our rightful place as a black community. No more living in fear. No more looking at ourselves and trying not to live up to a stereotype. No more looking at our skin like it's this ugly disease that we were affected with. It's time to learn to love ourselves, love our communities, to love each other and support each other. It's time for us to finally love our brothers and sisters. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Past to Present Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Gray. Until next time I see you, stay healthy, stay safe, stay tuned. Peace.